Hello, very kind people. I am so happy that you're here. Thank you for being here. Today, I want to share something a little fun from my field, from my profession. I want to share a little bit of this magazine with you. Psychology Today. Now, I have always loved shiny magazines ever since childhood. It has always felt like such a little treat, such an indulgence to sit down and flip through a magazine. I've enjoyed many different kinds of magazines over the years. I also really do love ASMR with magazines. People like ALB in Whipserland and Little Lee ASMR, and of course Kate at the Library of Whispers all have some wonderful magazine ASMR that I will link and share with you below. Now, this particular magazine, Psychology Today, is one that comes to me quarterly, and there are a lot of different contributors to this publication, so I can't in good conscience endorse everything that you might read in this magazine, but there usually are a few things in each issue that I really enjoy. There's a lot of really cool artwork. In fact, I have a client who inherits these magazines from me after I have gone through them, and they use the pictures for collage and other artwork, other collected artwork that they might be doing. It would be great for vision boards as well. This is the most recent issue. I think it is well themed for spring. I'd like to read some excerpts to you from the cover article. You'll see it says "Begin Again." How to start over in work, life, and love. Begin again. How to start over in work, life, and love. Begin. from the editor right at the beginning. She says, "The natural world gives us a template for starting over, seemingly from nothing. It's called spring. The natural world gives us a template for starting over, seemingly from nothing. It's called spring." We have an interesting article. Are women more empathetic? Gender differences in empathy are about expectations, conditioning, not biology. We have an article on melding our inner and outer worlds. Psychological principles inform the best design choices. That's a cool little intersection. We have an article on saudade, the feeling of longing or missing something that maybe you've never even had, maybe you will never have. And as we know here, it is so important to be able to name our feelings and give them space and time to compassion. I think it's fascinating as a native English speaker that we often have to borrow words from other languages and other cultures to give more breadth and depth to our emotional experiences. And I love that. So done. So we've made it to our cover article, and it says fresh start, fresh start, fresh start. The best way to begin something new in love, work, and life. And I think the most inspiring part of this article is that it highlights specific people and tells a little bit about their stories and the fresh starts that they have made in their lives. So I want to make sure to show you these pictures and read you these stories first. So that picture is of Yulia Vladkovska. I am so sorry if I mispronounce these names. I will do my best. Yulia Vladkovska left her corporate IT career at age 45 and enrolled at Accademia Carrara in Bergamo, Italy, to pursue an MFA in painting. She surprised everyone, including herself. Yet the decision wasn't as impulsive as it appeared. disappeared. She'd thrived in a corporate environment centered around logic and precision, but I'd always felt like there was something inside of me that wasn't really being explored, she says. Her career necessitated frequent moves, and when she landed in Italy, ready for another new adventure, everything converged. At some point, you realize you're in the right place at the right time, and you have to do the right thing. She'd always had an artistic streak, sketching and coloring in her free time. But at the academia, Vladkovska found herself surrounded by pupils half her age, but seemingly light years ahead in knowledge and skill. She says, I had to give up my old identity and go back to being a total beginner. Sometimes that meant publicly failing. Not just in front of her classmates, but her 3 teen sons. Yet the latter was surprisingly rewarding. My children were used to seeing me in a specific role, she says. I want to show them you can change whenever you want, and you might feel much better when you do. I hope that's been liberating for them. Let's see what our next story is. On the very next page. It says, until his early 40s, John Kay lived and breathed finance. First as an accountant, then as an investment banker, then as the head of his own private equity firm. I was so single-minded, says Kay, who lives in London. I missed time with family, with friends. I missed big occasions. He wasn't miserable, but he wasn't fulfilled either. It was a lot of drudgery, spreadsheets and budgets and long hours. What he needed, he thought, was a dose of creativity to break up the monotony. He dabbled in different pursuits, craft beer, sports psychology, until the pandemic brought a new calling. Other people were baking bread, he says. I was devouring a music production course, hours and hours of it. It opened up a whole new world. He'd played piano in his youth, well, but not seriously. Suddenly he was making music daily, not just for himself, but for friends, family, even clients, including a just-launched radio station whose founders were so taken with his work that they asked him to host a talk show too. I used to pride myself on being able to say no, Kay says. I I was so firm about it. No, I'm not going to the pub, I'm tired. Or no, I'm not doing that project, it's going to fail. Post-pandemic, he started saying yes. Yes, he'll host the show. Yes, he'll help with your startup. Yes, he'll meet for coffee. I realized that most of the time, whatever downside I was worried about was actually so small. He says, maybe someday I'll get too far out of my comfort zone and it will come back to bite me. But right now, I just don't care. Laura Bustamante first tried pole dancing at 46 when her mother's long battle with Alzheimer's came to an end. During her decline, she couldn't really understand her limitations, her daughter says. Falls were frequent, even when Bustamante was doing everything in her power to keep her safe. She says no matter how much I tried to control the environment, there was always risk. After her mother passed away, Bustamante felt compelled to preserve her own strength, both physical and cognitive. A Mexican folk dancing background made pole seem a natural next step. At first I was so bad at it. You're engaging all these weird parts of your body that you don't even know exist. I've definitely had that experience. You're upside down and the teacher says, move your right leg, but you don't even know which limb is which, and she fell a lot. But I was determined, so I kept showing up. Just when she felt strong and fit, she was diagnosed with endometrial cancer. Treatment required major surgery, and she struggled with weight gain during recovery. Climbing back on the pole, I felt as if I was back at square one, she says. Yet each skill she regains brings a spark of joy. There are still things that I can't do that I wish I could, but I'm reinventing myself and relearning what it means to be in my body. It's actually been just what I needed. If you're going to leave behind everybody, all your possessions, the life you've always known, there's got to be a really good reason, Carl Nassar says. And when his parents packed up their home in Lebanon and boarded a one-way flight to Canada with their son, then 3. Their reason was crystal clear: the stable, secure future they desperately wanted him to have. There's a little dog. There's a little dog making sounds in the background. Their mission shaped Nassar's life. I noticed very early that when I worked hard on my schoolwork, the tension my parents felt seemed to ease. I thought, if I do well in school, maybe they'll finally be able to relax. So he achieved and achieved some more, until he was a tenured professor of engineering in Colorado, where he lives today. Sitting in his new office, I thought I'd feel a sense of belonging, of being welcomed. Instead, he saw only more expectations, more pressure, more never being enough. So he left and became something totally new, a therapist. Hearing that he was giving up tenure and a 6-figure salary, my parents fell off their chairs, he says. Yet as his practice established itself and his fulfillment grew more apparent, they slowly came around. There's a richness that comes from being able to do what you love in a responsible, thoughtful way, he says. What a beautiful quote that is. There's a richness that comes from being able to do what you love in a responsible, thoughtful way. If your heart is somewhere else, it's really worth pursuing. Those are the last of those specific stories. I might read you a little bit of the primary cover article as well. It says, "How to be a better beginner." You get to live this phase only once, approaching it deliberately and with an experimenter mind can help make sure you enjoy it. There's a therapy tool that I use a lot called Discovery. Use Discovery. And to boil it down, it really is that when you have to do something new or challenging, new things are almost always challenging, almost always hard, but to approach it like it's an experiment or something you're playing around with, that you're a scientist or an artist trying something new, making a new discovery. And let's read a little bit of this. Jan is ready for a new challenge. She recently moved from a bustling city to a small town famed for its outdoorsy culture. And she wants to take advantage of the new terrain and start mountain running. She's already been practicing on a treadmill and even found a local running group that advertises itself as beginner friendly. She's excited to start, yet at the same time overwhelmed, nervous, and deeply unsure of herself. Many people view being a beginner only through a lens of discomfort, fixating on the confusion, frustration, anxiety, and self-doubt that, yes, likely they'll experience. Too often, though, they forget that being a beginner at any experiential pursuit, training for a new career, taking up a new skill, or even starting a new relationship, is a uniquely rich phase, one often characterized by newbie gains and joyous self-discovery. We only get to experience the beginner phase once, so rather than rush through it, we might as well learn to enjoy it. These 6 tips could help. Tip number 1 is don't try to be invisible. Beginners often seek not to stand out. They want to make their newbie mistakes quietly, unnoticed. However, this approach can hinder actual progress, both because it makes them less likely to take risks and because it robs them of the benefits of social support. I'm just going to give an overview of these tips. Number 2, enjoy your newbie gains. Weightlifters coined the term newbie gains to describe the rapid increase in both muscle and strength that novice lifters tend to experience. In strength training, newbie gains are physiological and observable, but newbie gains can happen in other pursuits too, even if they're not always as readily noticeable. Number 3, embrace the abundance of resources aimed at beginners. Search for tips on almost any skill, and you'll find far more aimed at beginners than at any other stage. When you're farther along, this can be frustrating, but at this stage, it's a powerful advantage. More experienced people often delight in sharing their knowledge and passion with newcomers, giving you a wealth of resources to draw from. Remember, this is tip number 4. Remember, you're not a beginner at learning. Even during an honest-to-God first attempt, you're never truly a blank slate. You know what the learning cycle feels like, what it feels like to pass through the various stages, and what it feels like to finally succeed. Whatever you're trying now might not even be close to the hardest thing you've ever accomplished. limit low quality learning. In the age of short form video, it's tempting to think we can learn well from passively consuming slick content. But while those resources can help orient us to what we will have to learn, they rarely build the deep knowledge, skills, or experience we desire. And the last tip, number 6, cultivate an experimenter's mindset. We all know someone who looks at everything as an opportunity to experiment. Some experiments work, and some don't. But these people never seem to get discouraged. They just try again. Here are some other fun little articles, and you can see the fun artwork that's included. Can meditation make your brain younger? Prescription creativity. The power of perspective. And that's where we're going to leave our reading, our sharing of Psychology Today magazine. Psychology Today is also a website, a database, a directory. If you are looking to start therapy, or maybe you're in therapy and you're looking for someone who specializes in something different, or someone who takes your insurance. I know that's a very common thing. I will link Psychology Today's website below. It can be very helpful. You can search your zip code, and then you can refine the filters on your search, again, for maybe practitioners who accept your insurance or specialize in your diagnoses or certain treatment modalities. But it can be a very helpful resource. I will link that below. I believe you can also purchase the magazine online, potentially in retail locations. Not sure on that. But I hope you enjoyed my sharing some of the stories, some of this cover article on our perpetual but also spring theme of beginning again. Let me know if there was something you particularly resonated with, something that you found inspiring or encouraging. And again, these magazines come quarterly. Let me know if you'd like me to share more in the future. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me. Please remember that we are always only human.